Hi there everyone, for Viral Now, I'm Jer, here today to talk about 5 lottery winners who ended up broke. The lottery is a form of gambling where people purchase tickets for a set amount of money in hopes to win the total collective of money. The slim chance and large sums of cash are appealing to many. In the event of winning, your entire life could be turned around for the best. Unfortunately, according to statistics, 70% of lottery winners end up broke, and a third of them go as far as filing for bankruptcy. Being given that amount of money without slowly building up to it is a daunting task. Thinking the amount of money is infinite leads to turmoil. For once again, 7 in 10 winners, let's look at some of them today. Right before getting into the list, here's a quick message. To up your style game, check out HypeLitStore.com to find some of the latest trendy designs, with the Space Galaxy hoodie, Oreo joggers, or vintage Rick t-shirt, among many others. Once again, at HypeLitStore.com. Lara and Roger Griffiths, $2.76 million. Starting off with this UK couple who won £1.83 million, equal to $2.76 million at the time in 2005. Following their win, they both quit their jobs. Lara was a performing arts teacher and Roger was a IT manager. Both of them made around $50,000, $55,000 a year. With their newly acquired wealth though, they purchased a $1.1 million barn conversion in the gentle village of Wetherby, West Yorkshire. Inside of their double garage, new Porsche and Lexus cars. They would oftentimes book flights out to Dubai, flying in business class and staying in 5-star hotels. Similar trips of luxury were made out to New York, London, and Rome, among many other locations. They also sent their 2 daughters to private school, costing about $30,000 a year. In hopes to turn their lottery winnings into more money instead of blowing through it all, Roger purchased a couple of properties to then work as a property developer. His wife also got back to work by opening up her own spa, but both of the businesses failed. Lara was having slight success, but was ultimately losing thousands of dollars a month, while Roger had no experience, thus no clue what he was doing, causing the property purchases to be a total waste. In 2011, the couple split, Roger saying that it was his wife who caused them to run through all of their money, with frequent visits to luxury stores such as Louis Vuitton. Lara responded similarly against Roger, saying that he would frequently waste the money, citing that one time he spent $30,000 total to record a single song with his band. Just as an example, then to put the nail in the coffin for their relationship, a fire broke out in their home which ended up costing over $200,000 to repair the damages. As of 2013, Roger lived away from Lara and their daughters in an old cottage, only having $10 to his name at the time of the interview. Lara managed to sell her spa business at a loss, but she was staying in the lavish home with their daughters. Andrew Jackson Whittaker Jr., $315 million. Winner of the largest jackpot in history at the time, ended up getting a total of about $115 million after taxes, and he also had chose to receive winnings immediately in cash instead of payments over time. He started off great, being a dedicated Christian and tithing 10% of the winnings to various Christian organizations, and even starting his own foundation, meant to raise money for underprivileged rural children. A slew of legal and personal problems started less than a year after though, starting with the event where Andrew lost $545,000 in cash that had been left inside of his car while he was at a strip club. When asked why he carried that much money with him, he responded by saying, quote, "Because I can." The next notable event in September 2004, the boyfriend of Andrew's granddaughter was found in Andrew's home dead. This was due to an overdose of a combination of oxycodone, methadone, meperidine, and cocaine. 3 months later, that granddaughter I just talked about at age 17 was found dead on the property of a male friend. Her body was wrapped inside of a plastic tarp and was dumped behind a junked van. No one was charged with a crime. In her system, cocaine and methadone had been found. In 2005, Andrew was sued for $1.5 million from a casino for bouncing checks that were meant for paying back debt that was racked up at that casino. Andrew was sued again by a woman and ended up taking a large sum of money in that process. In July 2009, Andrew's daughter was found dead. No explanation was put together. And then skipping ahead to December of 2016, his home burned down, which was not insured. With the check bouncing and a couple of lawsuits he had of not properly paying people, and everything else that has happened and not having his home insured, it can be assumed very much so that Andrew has little of his winnings left as of today. Vivian Nicholson, $3.5 million. For this story, it was technically her husband that was the winner in the year 1961. The winnings have been updated, accounting for inflation, totaling $3.5 million today. It is important to note that Vivian was poor growing up. She dropped out of school at age 14, became pregnant at age 16, and then moved on to meet her husband 2 years later at age 18. I say this to make the point that she was not well educated and would have never had any experience in the workforce as an adult. At age 25, her husband Keith won the jackpot. They both spent lavishly on sports cars, clothing, jewelry, vacations around the UK and the rest of the world, among many other purchases. A few years following the winnings, Keith, the winner of the jackpot, and also the husband, died in a car accident. Following his death, Vivian was given full control of the wealth. While Keith certainly was spending a lot and giving a lot to his wife to spend, he did have some self-control. Once it was just Vivian though, who spent it all not too long later. She became somewhat of a celebrity in England for telling people to, quote, spend, spend, spend. Her lack of understanding of finances paired with her alcoholism brought her to being broke. In 1968, she did receive more money that at the time belonged to her late husband's estate, but she blew through all of that as well. Skip forward to the year 1970, when she was arrested for assaulting a policeman while abroad and was deported back to Britain. Shortly after, she remarried, but it did not last as he died in a car crash. The next husband was abusive to Vivian. She fled the home after 4 days of living together and chose to be admitted into a mental hospital. When she returned to society, she got married for the 5th time. That husband died of a drug overdose. In the mid-1970s, she attempted to gain her local fame back by recording and releasing a single called Spend, 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 but it was not at all successful. She did eventually become sober though, although broke for quite some time. William Bud Post, $16.2 million. He once said, quote, "Everybody dreams of winning money, but nobody realizes the nightmares that come out of the woodwork or the problems." This was said in the year 1993, 5 years after winning the Pennsylvania lottery. He has quite the story with a ton of detail. I won't be going through the timeline mentioning when and how everything happened. To summarize though, he won the lottery in 1988. At the time, he had less than $3 to his name, and he had just pawned a ring for $40 to help pay for his rent. And also to pay towards the rent, he gave his landlady, whom he would sometimes also date, 40 lottery tickets, and among these tickets was the winning one. This will come back into play later in the story here. With the first payments he received, his purchases included getting himself a liquor license, a lease on a Florida restaurant for his brother and sister, and a used car lot including all of the fleet for another brother. He also purchased for himself a twin-engine plane, despite not having a pilot's license, and within 3 months, Bud was $500,000 in debt. The way he received his winning, though, was through multiple payments throughout many years, so there was still more money to come. Except he continued to spend by getting himself a mansion and plenty of more toys and electronics. At one point, his old girlfriend slash landlady took him to court saying that it was promised the winnings would be split. Bud denied it, but he was eventually forced to pay by a judge 1/3 of the winnings. However, he didn't have the money. Due to not being able to pay, the judge had all of the future lottery winning payments frozen. So, Bud frantically sold essentially everything of his. By the late 1990s, he was still broke, paying off the rest of his debt at the same time, still buying things such as expensive televisions. He was arrested in 1998 after he refused to serve a sentence for an assault he committed a few years ago. And to hop back a bit in time to explain that, throughout his life, he had 6 wives. While he was married to the 6th, his own brother sent someone to kill Bud and his wife. Bud fired a gun at the man trying to murder them. However, Bud ended up becoming forced to move away from his wife at the time. And also, he was charged for trying to assault the man that was supposedly sent to try to kill him, though. Once he was out of prison following a sentence given in 1998, he was said to be living on a $450 a month disability check. Marva Wilson, $2 million. I'm ending off this video with one person who did not blow through all of her winnings by her own choice. Instead, she was scammed. One of her favorite pastimes has always been playing the lottery. She was quoted in an interview saying, "I like it. It's so much fun trying to win. I don't play the Powerball unless it gets up there," she said while chuckling. In the summer of 2008, after years of buying tickets for the thrill at the chance of winning, she finally won more than $2 million. This elderly woman was ecstatic, and for the first couple of years following, was totally fine. It would be when a 44-year-old woman approached Marva that things would start to go downhill. Marva was quoted saying, "This woman pretended to be my friend, and she knew my daughter. Freya Pearson was only supposed to do 2 things for me: help me put a lien on the house, and she said she would do my income taxes for $500. What ended up happening, though, is Pearson set up a non-profit organization that she convinced Marva to transfer more than $400,000 to. Marva was quoted saying, "My eyes weren't totally opened, and she tricked me to get all my money." I suppose it seems that Marva had been spending quite a bit, but this woman named Pearson took most of what was left. Pearson was sentenced to 5 years in prison for fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, among many other charges. The elderly woman, Marva, never received her money back and remained understandably bitter, saying, "I wish she had gotten more of that, at least 10 or 20 years. This woman destroyed my life and my happiness I dreamed for my grandkids. When I was in court, I was so angry just looking at her." An unfortunate situation for sure that is easy to have sympathy towards, as Marva Wilson was scammed out of her own winnings. For Viral Now, I'm Jer, wishing you all to have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.